So CRO, it's really a topic. It's really the holy grail that e-commerce manager, you're a merchant, you're really looking for it. But it's not something you just luck into it. It's a series of tactical and strategic decisions you take to get there, and I would say really with surgical precision. And that's why we're calling him the conversion surgeon. So we have Chris Goward here from Wider Funnel Marketing, and he's actually our own conversion surgeon. I say our own because Magento.com very recently became a client of Chris here. So he started Wider Funnel in 2007 with the belief that digital agencies, they should prove their value to the merchants and in what they're offering. So he has done great CRO projects for huge clients, like he did for Google, babyage.com, for Electronic Arts. And he is the brains behind the Lift and Kaizen methodologies, which he's going to be sharing a lot more. I am not the expert in those, so he's going to be telling you more about that. And most recently, he is the author of a book, You Should Test That, because he firmly believes that you should take deliberate steps in testing your strategies when you're trying to optimize for conversion. We do actually have a limited number of copies that we're going to be giving away at the end of this session. And if you ask a question, you are guaranteed one. So pay close attention. Please welcome Chris Goward.
Awesome. Thanks, Krupa. And thanks to the rest of the Magento team for putting together this awesome event. Isn't it great? Haven't they done a good job? All right. Yeah, give them a hand. So thanks, Danny, and the rest for the invitation to come and speak with you. I'm going to be talking about how to create huge conversion rate lift on your e-commerce websites today. I'm going to show you some of the state of the conversion space and what's going on. And we're going to talk about some of the problems that are happening with some false best practices. We're going to look at some strategies and frameworks that you can use and apply in your website going back to the office tomorrow or the next day or whenever you're going back. And some examples of actual tests that we've run, some of the insights that we've gotten from them. All right? Sound good? There's a lot to pack into this session, so I'll try and get through it quickly and leave some time for some of you to get copies of the book to ask some questions. All right, so one slide about who we are. Wider Funnel is a conversion optimization agency, as Krupa said. That's all we do, is conversion optimization testing. Everything we say and everything we recommend, we test to find out what actually works. So I won't spend too much time on that. I want to get right into what's happening in the space. Conversion rate dissatisfaction is growing. Year over year, more companies are saying every year that they have to improve their conversion rate. It's a focus for them. And yet, at the same time, conversion rate improvement is getting harder. Year over year, 5% more companies are saying that they haven't improved their conversion rate in the past year. So even though more people are spending more time there, they're not actually getting the results. It's because they're doing it wrong. So the good news, though, is conversion optimization does work if you do it right. I'm going to show you how to do that. And I can't speak for everyone that does conversion optimization, just what we're seeing. Companies that are involved in a strategic process of ongoing iterative testing, with the frameworks I'm going to show you, are getting conversion rate lifts that are dramatic. Average conversion rate lift of 23.1% for e-commerce clients over the past, 5 years. So the one thing that I want you to take away from today, if nothing else, is that best practices don't work. That may be a little bit depressing, because you're here at a conference to learn all the best practices, right? But what we found is that there are so many common practices that designers and strategists are using for websites that are commonly adopted from some of the big players in the industry, right? Some commonly held principles that you'll see that I'll talk about today, that just, when we test them, actually don't work because they've never been tested. And yet, this isn't a new principle, right? When was science invented? We know that all of the advances we've had in civilization are due to science. Infant mortality is down, right? Our lifespan is longer. We've got better food. We've got better transportation. We've got iPhones. And yet marketers resist science. Marketers tend to believe that our intuition is so powerful, we know a good marketing campaign when we see it, right? We're brilliant. And yet the best way to get results is through testing. I'm going to show you some best practices. This is Forever 21. I went to their website looking for, imagine yourself, putting yourself in the shoes of a prospect going to Forever 21. Probably not me, but someone's, So in your prospect's mind, they arrive on the website. Now, the first thing they have to do is figure out how your site is structured. How am I going to find what I'm looking for? They try and figure out the navigation. Okay, maybe if I want some pants, see if there's some pants section around there. But most of the space is taken up by this big leather promo, right? And it says $17.80. Well, that's great. Well, maybe I'm interested in clicking on that. Where's that button? Okay, there's a Shop Now button. And just as she's about to click to check out what that offer is, it changes. Now she's looking at pants. Oh, good, that's what I was looking for. But hang on, now I'm kind of interested in that leather offer. I'd like to go, how do we get back there? Because that was interesting. But, well, hang on, $21 pants. Well, maybe I should check that out. Oh, crap. Now I'm looking at long sleeves. Okay, how many people have don't answer this. How many people have a rotating carousel on their homepage, right? It's one of the most common things in e-commerce and B2B and everywhere. In our testing, we've tested it many, many times. It almost never wins. It almost is guaranteed to be hurting your conversion rates because the user experience sucks. And yet it's one of the best practices that designers use to solve the limited real estate problem, right? Well, we don't have enough space. Let's just rotate it. Let's put more stuff in there. But from a visitor's perspective, it's confusing. Here's another one. How many of you have security symbols? McAfee, Norton, something on your website, right? You've probably heard advice that you should put that, if you're paying for the thing, you should put that as prominently as possible on your website, right? You should put it in the header, put it by your calls to action, put it in your product pages, put it everywhere. But when are people concerned about security? When they check out. We've tested this. This was in an e-commerce site where they had just isolating the McAfee symbol on that persistent call to action area, the cart area in the right-hand column, actually reduced their sales by 1.6%. You won't see that on a McAfee website, of course, that case study. But think about the visitor's perspective, right? This person is applying all of the best practices. Look at all those symbols. I mean, I don't think there are any other icons that exist. You should have tons of confidence shopping at this website, right? I like to look at the physical retailers example because they've been perfecting the art of retail for hundreds of years. Look at this experience. Plush carpets, warm lighting, well-merchandised, spaced-out products. I mean, you can almost smell the leather just wafting out at you, right? Inviting you in to shop. Well, would you rather shop here or in your high-security environment? Right? What makes you want to pull out your wallet? Well, here you have to pull out your wallet, but that's just a painful visitor experience. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is you should test that, and I'm going to show you some tested things that you can maybe apply to your website. More importantly, I'm going to show you some frameworks that you can use to definitely get results over time. So I'm going to talk about testing, but testing is not all that's needed. Okay, that's one thing, and one of the problems in conversion optimization over the past 6 or 7 years is that people have been talking about tools and that testing alone will get you results. They talk about multivariate tools where you can throw any weak ideas into the tools and it'll come out with brilliant results, right? Just throw anything. That's the spaghetti against the wall method. I'm sure you've heard that if you've been to the testing tool vendor's pitch, right? But it actually takes a strategy. You've actually got to think about what you're testing and get the best results by creating powerful hypotheses that solve the visitor problems. So let's talk about how to do that. First, a number that's important to understand, 200%. That's the value of a structured testing process. Okay? And that's not, I didn't just make that up. eConsultancy did a study that showed of e-commerce companies that were doing conversion optimization. Those that reported having a structured approach to their conversion optimization were twice as likely to also report large increases in sales. All right, so let's take a look at how to do that. How do we get a structured approach? Now I'm going to show you a framework that we use, and I just show you this to show you that it works in all industries. Whether you're in B2B, B2C, catalog e-commerce, single product focused, affiliate, wherever you're at. These are some of the clients we've been working with, and they're all applying this framework to get the results. I'll show you an example first. This is Wine Enthusiast. So they've got a company, their magazine is well known. For wineexpress.com, that's their group that sells wine. They ship wine. They've got an email distribution list of over 1 million subscribers that they send out every day with the wine of the day offer. And so what they needed to do was optimize their landing page, because for them, this single landing page was the most important piece of real estate they have in their whole company. They sent 1 million emails driving to this landing page template. So what we needed to do was get more e-commerce revenue from a single landing page. So there was a control page that we analyzed, and I'll show you in a little bit how to analyze a page and come up with hypotheses. But first, I just want to show you this one test because it's interesting. This was the landing page template, and what we did is, in this case, we were isolating one variable, and that was the call to action area. So on the left, you see it's got the our price. It's got the call to action button down there. It's hard to read on this screen. And then on the variation B, it's got a larger on sale now, a larger price in red, and then a larger call to action button. So I'm going to get you to do, I'll have a few examples here, and I'll get you to test your conversion skills. So which one of those had higher sales? How many think variation A increased their sales? Okay, how many think B? Wow. I think I saw one person vote for A over here. Yeah? Excellent. You might have been to my webinar before, have you? No? Oh, good guess. Yes, A1. Give yourself a raise. That was a 5% conversion rate lift. So 5%, I mean, that's all right for an e-commerce retailer, right? With 1 million visitors coming to the website. Well, it turns out when we looked at revenue, it actually ended up with a 41% increase in revenue per visitor. What's going on there? They actually ended up with a marketing insight, not just from this test. We ran a series of tests where we isolated various elements, the urgency block at the top, the position of the video, and some of the copy that was on the page. It turns out that anything for this target audience that smelled of marketing turned them off. This ended up being, it was a very sophisticated audience. They're wine connoisseurs. They have high income. And anytime we tried to move them towards buying with urgency or with tactics, marketing tactics, their conversion rate dropped. The only single factor that increased their conversion rate was by totally redesigning the layout and moving the video closer to the call to action. That video was below the fold originally. We found out that video was directly tied to people buying more cases of wine. So they'd come in, they wanted to see the sommelier's tasting notes, and they would watch the video, and then they would buy. So that's incredibly target audience specific. That's an insight that applies to that particular business, and it's not generalizable to all of your companies. I would never say to you, you know what you should do to increase your conversion rates? Reduce your button size. But for them, that's what they needed to do. So you should test that, right? How do we do that? Okay, so I'm going to show you how to implement that structured process and create hypotheses and an ongoing series of ideas to test. Okay, so there's 2 phases to the structured process. The first phase is developing a conversion optimization strategy. And we always start with the discovery phase, and this is very in-depth for us. We take a lot of time to go into heuristic analysis of the website from the prospect's perspective, some user testing, customer research, voice of customer, and digging into web analytics. And the purpose of all that is to really get into the head of the customer, understand where they're coming from and their particular unique needs. What keywords are they searching for? What's in their mind? What problems are they solving? And where are the opportunities in the website? What are the templates and the pages and the biggest problem areas that need to be improved? That discovery feeds into a plan. We call it the Kaizen plan. You can call it whatever you want. Essentially what it is a prioritization of where to spend your effort. There are a lot of companies that start into testing and don't realize the effort it takes to run tests. And they'll just sort of take the first page that comes to mind. Like, well, let's start on the home page because it's, the one that everyone's looking at, and it's the one that you sort of assume is most important sometimes. Or let's start on the product detail page, but that might not be where the problem is. A lot of people starting on the cart page. A lot of times cart abandonment has nothing to do with the cart. It's about problems, lack of information earlier on that people are trying to find in the cart, right? So what we do is looking at all of these factors, and I'm going to show you a framework in a moment, the PI framework, on how to prioritize pages. That's the most important step to get the best results out of every one of your tests, because you know, at least if you've got a good strategy, you'll be prioritizing your effort on the most important potential pages for improvement. Okay? So then after you've got the plan, you move into phase 2. Then, and only then, do you get into that iterative, ongoing testing process. And we've got a 7-step testing process. I'll show you that in more detail in a moment as well. But that's the high-level view. Start with the strategy, and then get into the testing. So phase 1 is the plan. Now, a little bit of background on the plan. And the reason we do this, again, is there are generally 3 components to your conversion funnel. First, you're looking at your persuasional end, which is the landing pages. This is the part of the experience that has to stick them to your site, right? You want to create something that's simple enough that it's not overwhelming, but it's got enough content and information that they want to get into it some more. That's the persuasional side that needs to move people through your funnel. The second level is the informational. Those are the interior pages, your category pages, your search results pages, your product detail pages, your about us and guarantee and all of that shipping information. That's where people are understanding your value proposition, understanding why they should buy from you, do you have the right solution to them, and giving them the motivation to act. And then finally, you've got the cart, right? Your transactional end. These are your conversion pages. That's where people are actually pulling out their wallet, pulling out their credit card, and completing the conversion. But a lot of people are focused maybe in one area or another. A lot of people, like I said, are focused on landing pages, and they might just actually call this landing page optimization. That's really just one small subset of a full conversion optimization strategy. So now we're going to talk about, when you've looked at all of these elements of your website, how to prioritize which ones to start with, okay? This is a framework we developed called the PI prioritization framework to try and add some structure to this prioritization. And we call it PI because it's kind of cute and yummy, but it really is the 3 factors. It just worked out this way. The 3 factors that influence the prioritization: potential, importance, and ease. Okay, so looking at all of the potential opportunities for improvement, and you're welcome to tweet any of this. It's okay. It's all public. Potential is the potential for improvement on each page or each category, each template. So how crappy is the page? Okay. Importance is how much revenue does this page contribute to your business, and how much does it cost? So high traffic websites, right? And then ease is the ease of implementation. So for potential, we look at various factors to prioritize which ones have the highest potential. We'll look at a heuristic analysis, right, where we'll look at the whole website and putting ourselves in the visitor's shoes, try and figure out where we would have roadblocks. And then look at like user testing and some of the other qualitative feedback to figure out where those problems might be. So from voice of customer. And then importance is which pages contribute to your business. Which are your most important pages? And that's mainly to do with traffic volume and cost. So if a product detail page touches 90% of your visitors, it's probably important to your business, right? If a lot of people are converting before that and can convert without having to go there, maybe it's not. So that's really business dependent. And then ease of implementation. 2 important factors, right? Technical ease and political. And political is sometimes why we avoid the homepage at first, because that's the one that everyone's got their finger in the pie there. So then we actually physically go through a process of ranking all of the pages, scoring them based on these factors, and come up with a chart. And we just go and say, okay, well, here are all the potential test opportunities. This is actually a slightly modified pie we did for a client recently. And we'll just rank them by potential importance and ease based on relative factors and come out with an average at the end, and that ranks our effort for the year. And looking at where we want to optimize first. So it's funny because we actually had a client that came to us and and said, here's our suggestion. Like they did a bunch of work on, here's what we think would be the best ones to start testing on. They had these landing pages that were the most underperforming pages in their high landing page category, right? And so they seemed off the top of their head like this would probably be a pretty good place to start. Like they're very underperforming and they're relatively high traffic. But when it actually came down to ranking them against all of the other opportunities, they were down like 8th or 9th on the list. And so if we had started there just by sort of guessing and taking the first ones that came without analyzing the whole experience, we could have been at like 6 months or 8 months out from actually optimizing the most important areas. And that's a lot of wasted opportunity, right? Opportunity cost. Okay, so that's a peek into the Kaizen plan, and that's one of the most important parts of it, where you're optimizing your effort. And then phase 2 is actually getting into the testing. So the ongoing iterative scientific marketing approach, where you're continuously testing your best ideas. And I'm going to show you some examples of how to do that you might find that apply to your website as well. Okay, product page optimization. Here's an example from babyage.com. And this was actually, Babyage has very good product awareness, very good exposure in SEO and paid search in their category, doing a really good job. But they were really disappointed with their paid search results, and they kept bugging Google and saying, like, you guys, it costs too much. We're not getting the ROI. And they kept, nagging them until Google said, fine, here. And Google hired them hired us to improve their product pages because they kept annoying them so much. So that's a good tactic. Try that. It might work again. Who knows? So that was they needed to get more e-commerce revenue. I'm going to show you one of the frameworks we use to build hypotheses, okay? And then I'll show you exactly what we did for them to do that. How many of you have seen the lift model before? A few of you? Okay. It's getting kind of popular in conversion optimization circles, so I don't want to bore you if most of you had seen it. But I'll explain to you how it works, and then I'll show you how to develop hypotheses using it. This is what we use every day with all of our clients. It's something you can apply to your website. Essentially what it is the 6 conversion factors that impact your conversion rate. The core and the most important one is the value proposition. And the value proposition has a lot of different definitions. Every marketer has a different idea of what it means. The way I like to think of it is an equation that goes on in the prospect's mind between the whole set of perceived costs of taking action and perceived benefits. So there's all kinds of intangibles involved with that, right? Your brand impression is important, your design, your credibility indicators are all a part of value proposition, as well as the tangible aspects. Your actual product features, the cost, the shipping cost, all of those, measurable components. But it'll be different for every prospect. It's perceived in their mind, and everyone has different filters. So that's why it's important to incorporate things like user testing and really understanding your prospects to be able to get into their head. That value proposition will be influenced by your other factors. The relevance of the presentation. That's the relevance to the source media, the relevance to the visitor's needs. Sorry. And so a simple tactic to think about relevance is to just look at your incoming keywords, right? If people are searching for blue widgets, are they arriving on a landing page that has a headline that says blue widgets? If there's any synonyms or other types of descriptors, you're probably reducing your conversion rate simply by not following that scent trail for the prospect. And as much as we like to think we're evolved, we're still foraging animals. We still search by braille. We have an idea in our mind and a picture in our mind, and when we search for it, we're looking for that exact thing on the resulting page, or we lose the scent trail and we have to bounce back to try and find our trail again, where we're sniffing out our forest. We're not in the savannah searching out rodents anymore, but we're online searching for our Manolo Blahniks, right? All right, so the next factor is clarity. Clarity includes several components. Clarity of the imagery on your pages, clarity of the product descriptions, clarity of your copywriting, clarity of the eye flow is very important and often misunderstood. Clarity of the call to action, exactly what you want them to do. All of those factors can be tested to improve. And then factors that reduce conversions. Anxiety is anything that creates uncertainty in the prospect's mind about taking action. So is there too much security, not enough security? Are you asking too many questions that don't relate to the purchase or action, right? Too many form fields. And then distraction. Distraction is a lack of focus, or anything that redirects attention from the primary message, the primary reason they're there. A lot of times, the wrong placement for cross-sells and upsells, right? You might also likes can actually hurt your conversion rate because it just creates a distracting experience, and that's not what they're there for. Urgency is, why should I act now? Okay? You can test with urgency just simply in tone of your message. Of course, offers can work very well too, right? We know about limited time offers, but tone can make a big difference. And there's lots more online. If you want to find more about the lift model, just Google it. There's tons of articles and stuff. And of course, ask a question, you get the book. It gives you the whole thing. All right, so let's show how to apply this in the case of babyage.com. So this was the product page we started with. So this was the product page template that went through their whole website. Now, look at it for a second and think about what would you change or improve on that website experience. I'll show you some of the things we came up with. So there was free shipping, like their shipping said $9.99, right? You've probably seen a lot about the power of free. Free shipping could be compelling. So there's some distraction, opening new pages, scrolling products, taking a prominent position, right? Those are you may also likes. The design doesn't imply the sale price. The blue text confused with links. Shipping links opens a new tab. Reviews are more prominent than features. Cross-selling is more prominent than features. The features are actually hidden in a tab, and the shipping tab doesn't include shipping price. So these are just some of the most important factors. There was a whole ream of other ones. But now what we're doing is aiming to create hypotheses from the problems. So we take a weakness that might say scrolling products take the most prominent position on the page, and flip that into a strength. Now that can be a hypothesis that you can test. Moving the product recommendations below the fold will lift sales, right? Now you can isolate that or group it into a whole bunch of other variations. And this is where the sort of the art of the strategist comes in. We end up with a whole list of hypotheses. But now you've got to decide which ones do you actually want to isolate to understand insights and which ones do you want to just swing for the fences and get a bigger lift. And that just takes some experience and learning on what works best. So then what we do is take those hypotheses. So we've done a lift analysis. We convert them into hypotheses. And then we go through the whole 7-step process. Create a funnel experiment map. You can call this what you want. It's a test plan document. It's the test design document that outlines, what you're testing, why you're testing it, your wireframes, your variations, what you want to get out of it, the test structure, the goal, the actual goal tracking. All of that's in the funnel experiment map. And that's very important to have that documented so everyone's on the same page, everyone understands what's going on and why you're testing what you're testing. And most importantly, something that's sort of hidden here there's a very important reason that we have graphic design and copywriting on the 4th step. A lot of people are starting that in the 1st step. In this structure, we're starting by solving problems in the prospective's mind, not just in the prospect's mind, not just throwing random things against the wall with a designer, right? A lot of people are just shoving people into a room, shoving the designer into a room saying, come up with variations, and that's a really bad way of testing. So then going through and setting up the test, the experiment launch, and one of the most important steps is the results monitoring and analysis to make sure that it's looped back into the lift and hypothesis creation so that the insights that you've gained are actually discovered and baked into the company and brought into learning. And we'll create something we call the playbook, where we've got all of the learning from all the series of tests that become your specific company's industry best practice playbook. Now you know that's something that works for you. Okay, so and then you just keep going through it. You've got new ideas coming from a test. Every single time we test, we learn something new, and we get some new questions and new ideas that come out. We can go in and test again. So that's the 7-step testing cycle. Now, for Baby Age, we ended up creating a whole bunch of variations, but here were 2 of them that are interesting. So we've got one with the product image. We've put the features in the center column. We've got the sale price and the call to action on the right. And then on variation B, essentially what we've done is just flipped it. Just flipped the right and left columns with the price on the left and the product image on the right. So how many think variation A won? Okay. And who's going for B? Bs? Okay, we've got, how many people have decided not to vote? Right, okay, I could see that. That's all right. We'll get you later. Let's take a look. Drum roll. Variation B. Have you ever seen an e-commerce product page with that layout before? Oh no, we'd never seen one like that either. It was sort of this, way out idea. Let's give it a try. Flip the columns, why not? But in this case, it worked. Just that isolation between those two was a 16% lift in sales. Now, we've tried this on others. It doesn't work on every e-commerce site, so don't just run back to the office and say, I'm going to go. I know how to increase our sales by 16%. In this case, what's happening is that this particular target audience is very price sensitive. And most of their products are sale products. They're really playing the price card. And in this case, we've got an iFlow that goes straight from the logo to the price, and then over to the product info. And for this target audience, it worked out awesome. So that is a marketing insight that they can now apply and try and roll into other potential ideas for testing, right? Maybe that's, are there other ways we can increase the price prominence, or other ways we can speak to this particular target audience? Okay, let's look at category page testing. Now, spinlife.com. How much time do I have? Right on? Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool. Well, I've just got a couple more that I'll flip through, so that's good. Spinlife.com, this was another e-commerce site. They're industry leading. They needed to improve their conversion rates on their category pages. So this was a category page for motorized little scooters. So we've got a tiled view and a list view. So now only the people that didn't vote last time can vote this time. All right, who thinks A won? Tile view? And how many think B won? Okay, again, we got a 50-50. Well, it was B, list view. Now, so we've got a consolidated iFlow down and the easy price comparison. Could be hypotheses why this one won. It's something that's worth testing on your site. Persistent calls to action. Everyone has this on your e-commerce site, right? The carts that are throughout your website. Well, we tested that with Canadream. This was for a booking, RV booking. And we had the control page, or the control widget, and a lot of people would think and say, this is a tiny little piece of real estate. How important can that be? I wanted to show you this because I wanted to show you how important some of these tiny little elements can be in your website, not just the dramatic ones. Variation B, we totally redesigned it, and I haven't shown you all the reasons for that, but the headline is now Price Your Holiday and Book Online. The other one is Get RV Renting and Pricing, Limited Availability, Book Now. So essentially what happened, we tested it, Variation C ended up doubling their sales to both online bookings and phone calls. Small changes can make a big difference, right? If you know where to look. So that's the last question I'll leave with you, because every marketing presentation needs a picture of a cat. We also do have a free offer for those of you who are interested in a free page evaluation for your website. It's a customized evaluation that you can take advantage of. And we have 10 time slots that we've opened up from Magento. So any type of page, category, product page, landing page. So to qualify, you just need to tell us the URL of the web page. If you've got a minimum 30,000 unique visitors a month, just email hello@widerfunnel.com. So now we have a couple minutes for questions.
Thank you. So I just want to comment that great presentation, Chris. Thank you. And then, so he did talk a lot about some of their proprietary methodologies, but I think the message for us to take from here is it's really the process, the thought process, the deliberate process that we need to apply to get our conversion optimization. So we have a couple of mics set up here and over there. So if you could, please. So I'll pass on. I would actually like to reserve this mic so he can actually answer. So if you could kind of get over and start asking your questions, it would be great. Thank you.
All right.
Hi, Janelle Schultz from EBSCO Industries. So we have big sites and small sites, and they have different traffic, and we actually have purchased we're using Optimizely. But that brought up a question for me on the 30,000 unique visitors per month. You know, some we want to test, but the pages get so little traffic, and do you have a cutoff, or are there standards that say you really can't test below a certain amount of visitors?
There's no minimum to testing. We've had tests that will run on quite low traffic sites, but if there's a high order value and it makes sense to put in the effort to do it, then it can work out well. You just have to be patient and let the test run longer, right? The reason we have the minimum is because you get a lot faster results and better ROI typically when, of course, there's lots more traffic to amortize it over. And it's just a lot of fun working with very high traffic websites. So limited time, got to pick your battles, right?
It's always much more fun to work with high traffic
right. But you can, and so there's ways to make low traffic tests complete faster.
Okay.
Essentially, you want to test very dramatically, test complete different approaches, and minimize the number of variations, right? Start with 2, maybe 3 variations at a time, and don't get into multivariate testing. Don't even think of multivariate. Sure. Just A/B split testing, and start with the things that are really impactful from the visitor's mindset in changing the value proposition perception.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. My name's Dave Rinke from Solar Robotics in Canada. I had a question regarding how you, well, taking for example the baby age, and you were giving the example of what their mindset of the consumer was. To them, it was a value proposition. How did you establish that? Did you follow up with post interviews with customers to get that idea, or is that just something that you picked out of the blue? Well, this must be what the case is.
Of why that variation won?
Well, no. Well, it won obviously because it generated more traffic.
Right.
But you gave the conclusion that for baby age, they're working on a price proposition.
Right.
And so obviously, well, this is my question: is that the obvious point that the customers that are coming there are after the value? I mean, is that what one relayed, that observation led to that conclusion? Yeah. Or was there some sort of follow-up mechanism beyond that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The way we come up with that, sometimes it's through validating user voice of customer to test whether those hypotheses that come out of that actually play out on the website. Often it's, though, through a series of tests that build on each other. So if one might indicate a few different reasons that might have won. Like maybe it's because they're price sensitive, or maybe it's because I don't know, the iFlow just goes straight to the call to action, or maybe it's a series of other things. Well, now we can run follow-up tests and say, let's dig into that some more and find out something that might try and play those against each other, and say, see if we can understand what is the marketing insight. So just from a single test, we're going to get what I call a potential insight. And then from a series of tests, we'll get something more robust that we can actually rely on.
Okay, so there never is a case where you actually go back and follow up with the customer what their intent was at that point in time. It's just purely on observed results.
Yeah, not from a single test, because we don't tag the people who convert on the individual and then survey them afterwards. Yeah, but we may do a survey to general customers afterwards to try and validate that. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi there, over here.
Yes.
So I was wondering, when you're doing multiple elements testing on one page, how do you make sure to be able to ensure that you're getting the result for that one element versus and isolate that rather than getting mushy between multiple things you're testing at once?
Yeah, well, and as I said, that's kind of the art of the strategist. What you have to do, because in this business, the limited factor you have to work with is traffic. And so you have to be very selective on what you're going to isolate. So what we have to do is look at all of the potential hypotheses we can isolate and say, which ones are the most important for us to learn? And if it doesn't make the top of the list, then let's cluster it together and see if it actually makes an impact before we dig into it some more. So we might start with A/B cluster testing, where we're going in and testing a whole bunch of different things and just clumping them together, swing for the fences. If one outperforms, great, now let's dig into this, do some more isolations within it to see what we can suss out of that variation and get even more improvement. But yeah, there's no simple answer to that, to say, well, you should isolate everything first, because then it'll just take too long. Then you're into the multivariate conundrum where you're running tests for a year to get results.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we had two on that side, so I'll do.
We have some pages that organically rank #1 on Google for some particular keywords, and we rank that as having tremendous value for us. On the other hand, we know that there's some optimization things around conversion that could be done for these particular landing pages. What have you done in those situations, and how have you kind of weighed the advantages against each other of potentially making structural changes that might actually take you out of some of those high SEO rankings?
Yeah, that's always a concern. And fortunately, though, the principles of SEO and conversion are aligned. So, broadly speaking, a better converting page should be a better SEO page as well. And
Should be.
it should be. Now, sometimes there's content implications, right?
Right.
There are ways within the code of having content appear and then, in different places, in code and visual. So yeah, you want to consider those things, especially if SEO is your main traffic driver. But there are always ways around that. We've never had a situation, first of all, where we've actually run tests and seen SEO drop to date. But a lot of that is because, we want to prepare and make sure that we don't hurt the SEO factors that we know are important there too. Right. So yeah, it's something to do. Like if you've got someone that's looking at conversion, you want to make sure that they're looping in with your SEO expert as well.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, there's thousands of templates and themes available for purchase or free. Some of them look great. Are any of them kind of pre-optimized, or that we should be looking at that are just a better starting point than others?
Not that I've seen.
So it's always going to be custom.
Pretty much. A lot of the sexiest templates you can find just are terrible for conversion, because a lot of times, what appeals to you and to me and to designers is, like these beautiful bleed to the edges images, right? With, stunning graphics and animation and things that just pop out and appear, and yeah, they're clever, they're fun, they're cool, they're sexy, but they don't convert, right? So a lot of times what you're getting are the designer's best wishes for a beautiful website. So
Thank you.
yeah. Yep.
The A/B testing you've shown us, it's optimizing for the average customer. Could you comment on segmenting users in your test? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's important for sure. And segmentation, now, often though, what we find is when we do segment, the similarities are often more important than the differences. And there is some segmentation that certainly happens, especially with different product categories and keyword intention and stage of buying cycle. But a lot of times people overplay the importance of psychographic segmentation and regionality and all of these other things that may have some slight impact, but then you have to do the cost-benefit analysis of supporting thousands of different segmented pages, and a lot of times it just doesn't make sense, especially when you try and get statistical significance on if they actually make a difference. So look very carefully at segmentation before getting too far down that road, because in most cases you'll get a much bigger improvement from aggregating traffic and finding out what's your core value proposition that's actually moving the majority to action. And there's probably more improvement there in most cases than in getting down into the too deep in the segmentation rabbit hole.
Okay.
So
thanks.
yeah. I don't know if we have time for one more.
Yeah. Hey, John Grew, Polka Dot Box. I've got a question. Do you have other recommended tools for performing the A/B test apart from Google Analytics?
Yeah. I don't know if there's anyone from Google in here. I'm good friends with Google. We're Google authorized consultants. Content Experiments sucks. I will never use it for a client. It's unreliable. The reporting doesn't work. The multi-arm bandit algorithm stinks, so run away. So we're technology agnostic, though. We don't sell any particular tool. We love Optimizely. We're using them a lot. We're good partners with them now, too. Visual Website Optimizer is pretty good. Use Test and Target a lot. SiteSpect is crazy expensive, but does some really powerful stuff. So there are a lot of very good tools out there, but we found that for getting in the door with great feature set, Optimizely is really doing a good job. I know they're here they've got a booth here too. So.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you all.